Okay, today's lesson is actually a tutorial on how to create a check register and fill it out in Excel. In the past, you've had some experience in Excel, and today we're going to use that experience to build a check register. In the prior lesson, you watched a video on checking accounts, and at the end of the lesson, they talked about how to fill out a check register. So I just want to review that. In the left column, here is an example of a check register. In the left column, we have a number. So we either put here the check number, say 100, or we put what we did. So perhaps we made a deposit. Or maybe there's an auto withdrawal. Maybe your rent comes out automatically out of your bank account every month. Again, here's another check, 101. In this situation here, WD, that means withdrawal. So I made a withdrawal from an ATM. And then debit, I use my debit card in order to buy groceries at Safeway. So the number really is just a code to help you understand what you did in order to have the withdrawal or the deposit. And then the date is self-explanatory. The description is important because you can go back and figure out what it was that you wrote a check for, or that you took money out for, or what the deposit was. And then our debit, which is also our withdrawal column, is the money that comes out of our balance, out of our checking account. This REC is our reconciliation column. We are not going to use that in today's lesson, but we would use this in order to help us reconcile our check register to our bank statement. And that'll be in the next lesson. This column is our credit or our deposit column, so this shows how much money we are depositing into our bank balance. Now this first line is our starting bank balance, $1,200. And then every time we complete a transaction, whether it's a withdrawal or a deposit, that adjusts our balance. So this is cumulative. It keeps track of our balance as we go. So you can see that the balance changes with each transaction. And I'm going to show you how to create a formula to do that. If you do not have access to Excel, or you do not have Excel on your computer, you can go to this site, openoffice.org, and you can download a free version, which is very similar to this version and should have enough of the features that we use so that you can do the same thing. Okay, so let's go over how to create this Excel spreadsheet from scratch. So notice first I have these headings, number, date, description. So what I'm going to do is open a new spreadsheet and show you a little bit how to do that with the formatting. So the first cell we had was number, then date, and description. And then we had debit, or I had in parentheses to remind me that it was a withdrawal. And notice it's not fitting at the moment. I had reconciliation, and then I had credit or deposit. And then my final column was balance. Now you'll notice that when you're first typing this in, this doesn't look very good. We have some formatting issues. So what I like to do is format this first. So what I do is highlight the cells that I want to format. Right up here on your toolbar here, you have a lot of icons. So we can bold these, we can center these, we can also click here and we can put a border. We can do an underline border, bottom border. And now we have the problem where things are squished together. So another thing I like to do, if you highlight all these and you right click on these cells, go to Format Cells, and you will see something that says Wrap Text. Right here, Wrap Text. So you can also shrink your text to fit into the cells, but I like to wrap my text. So if I click this button and hit OK, notice what happens. It actually wraps the text around. Now in this case, what I want to do is widen this a little bit so that withdrawal fits. And then I also want to widen my description column because usually my descriptions are longer. So now what I've done effectively is I have formatted my headings. A final item that I would want to format is how my numbers appear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the debit. I'm going to hold and highlight all the way over here. And then I'm going to click on my currency and I'm going to format it with currency. I could also click on the comma, and that would also help to format my numbers so they didn't just come in as a bunch of numbers together. This way they have commas And by using the currency, now I have dollar signs. Okay, so the first thing I need to do is put in my current balance. And if I go back and look at my previous sheet, my current balance was $1,200. So I'm going to type 1,200. Now notice when I hit enter, see how nicely that formats. It has a dollar sign, it has a comma. So then I'll go down one line and I'll put in my first transaction. And I believe I wrote a check on the first of the year, and there's my date, for the water bill. So I type in my description, water bill, and then I put in how much that was for. And that was for $45. So then I put in the 45. Now notice there's nothing here because I don't have any formulas keeping track of my balance. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a couple more things and then we will add in our formulas. So looking back, I had a deposit on the 3rd for $25.50. So I'm typing in deposit, and that was on January 3rd. And I believe that was for a paycheck. And notice I'm skipping the debit withdrawal column and I'm arrowing over to the credit column, and that was for $25.50. Okay, let's do one more. So my next transaction was an auto withdrawal on the 5th for rent for $13.50. So that was an auto on the 5th, and that was rent, and that was for $13.50. So now I'm starting to fill out my check register, and I'm putting the debit and the withdrawals in the appropriate column and any deposits in the credit column. But now the whole point is to keep track of my balance. So what I need to do is I need to go to this first empty cell here, and I need to create a formula. Remember, when you create a formula in Excel, you always press equals. Now think about what you want to do. You want to take the 1,200. So I'm going to come up here and click on the 1,200. Notice it puts G2 in my cell. And I want to subtract any debits. So I'm going to hit the minus key. And I'm going to click over here on the debit withdrawal column. And then I want to add any credits. So I'm going to hit plus. And then I'm going to click here on the credit deposit column. Notice I'm keeping all these in the same row. In this situation, I have no credit, so it will add a 0. But I do have $45 of debit, so it will subtract that. So look at my formula. G2 is our beginning balance, and then I'm subtracting whatever withdrawals I have for this next transaction and adding any deposits I have on this next transaction. And now I'm going to press enter, and notice that it now comes up with my new bank balance. So what I want to do is click on that cell, and I want to fill that formula down. I want that formula to happen all the way down, and I can go as far as I want, but I'm just going to go a little distance just for this. So if I go to the corner until my cursor makes an X, I can shift, I can press left, and I can highlight down, and when I let go, it has filled that formula down. Remember that the other way you can fill down is go up to the Edit menu, and you can go to the fill, and you can have see the down, the right, the upper, the left. That's another way. But remember that to fill down, you always need to click on the cell that has the formula you want to fill down, and then highlight down as far as you want that formula to fill. So now, if I were to put in another transaction, so let's see what my next one was. I had a check that I wrote to the electric company. It was check 101 on the 15th. For $40. And when I put in the 40 here, notice what happens to my balance over here. When I press enter, it changes my balance, it reduces it. So this is a handy way to keep a check register in Excel, and then you don't have to do the math every single time. And that concludes our lesson on how to build a check register in Excel, as well as to give you a review on what a check register is used for and how to fill it out.